Hello, welcome to JIBRIN Angle on Oweleke TV. Once again, we are having our regular guest, Barrister Austin Manta, the principal partner of AA Manta and Co. We shall be talking about the Nigerian situation today. We are going to be reviewing the several issues that has bedeviled Nigeria lately since the assumption of office of President Bola Tinubu. I sometimes refer to him as illegitimate president because that is what he is. Then we shall on that we shall be touching the food issue, the food crisis we are facing. Everyone is aware of what is happening with our foods right now. Someone goes to the market today, buys a mudu of rice at 1,800, and the next day it just jumps up to 2,500. It's a daily occurrence right now going on in Nigeria. It's just inflation is just on an unprecedented level right now, where it's a daily basis thing. So it's very, very unusual. We shall also be talking about the insecurity, everything, and insecurity and education, where schools are paid, asked or compelled or required to pay school fees in dollars. So these are the issues we'll be talking about. And on the foreign scene, we shall be talking about the interview. There was an interview held with Vladimir Putin of Russia about 3 days ago. The interview is quite long. It was a very, very long interview, 2 hours plus. So, but I watched it from the beginning to the end because while it was long, excuse me, it seemed long. I didn't feel it that much because the interview was interesting, sort of. So we shall be reviewing the information given to with the informations we got from the interview through the president of Russia. We shall be talking about that and what has been going on with the Ukraine issue. So now we have, as I said earlier, we have Barrister Austin Manta to actually dissect all these issues. So we hope you just stick around and watch as we analyze this issue. Once again, my name is Jibrin. I am the chief host of this program. And this program, for those of you who may be watching this program for the first time, this is a talk show. I am not a journalist. I got a criticism of from someone in the past of me being one-sided, siding this or whatever, criticizing the government and all that or whatever. Well, let me sound a note of let me get you people informed. I am not a journalist. This is not. In fact, the way I conduct this, you know this is not my profession. So I'm just doing this out of passion, out of enthusiasm, out of just the I think the necessity of the day, of the necessity of the day, because Nigeria is just going down the drain. I'm just trying to actually I think be among those that are speaking out, no matter how insignificant my voice may sound. So I am not a journalist. I am a critic that is my nature. I am a critic, call it social critic or whatever, but I am a critic by nature. And I always stand, even if I were to be journalist, even if I'll keep telling people, look, even if I were to be a journalist, honestly, I will not sit by and say this is against the ethics of my profession. I won't sit by and watch government bastardize the system and keep bastardizing the system in perpetuity. And because this same whatever bastardization will affect, eventually will affect me, affect my children, affect everybody around me, affect people, friends and relatives. So it's a general thing. So I am a Nigerian first. Even if I were a journalist, my thought will be I'm a human being first, and secondly a Nigerian, and that is it. Before I became a journalist, so to hell with my profession when things are going wrong. And so that is just it. Sorry for a kind of diverting the topic of the day. I just had to clear this because of the criticism I got from someone lately. So sorry about Samantha. Once again, you're welcome to JIBRIN Angle.
Thank you very much, and welcome viewers.
Okay. Can we assess, let's assess what the Bola, it's been about 9 months now, roughly 9 months. Can you give us your assessment or your review of the government so far? For instance, sometime last week, Dangote went out, we read that Dangote was negotiating with the United States for crude oils for his refinery in Nigeria, therefore for him to be able to get crude oil, source for crude oil from the US, refine it in Nigeria and sell it to Nigerians. That honestly sounded odd to me. I was shocked to read that news. So what do you think about that? And what do you think about the dollar? We shall be talking about all this. I'll just bring them all together so that we don't waste too much time on each topic. The dollarization of everything in Nigeria or whatever, anybody I speak with in Nigeria now is there is a business, an investment I wanted to do in Nigeria, and I was getting some consultants here and there in Nigeria. They're speaking with them on how to whatever. And everybody, and I say, okay, how much is this? How much is that? What is your fee? How much are you getting from? Everybody just mentions dollars. I got pissed off. I got irritated. I said, this is crazy. We are the enemy to ourselves. That is the enemy within we are talking about. For God's sake, we are crying that things are getting bad. We are instrumental. We ourselves are being instrumental to making it even worse. Why do you have to mention we are trying to bring in bring in something into Nigeria to invest, and you are mentioning dollars when it is everything there is local. Everything there, whatever we are doing there is local. Everything that whatever is local. Why won't you use naira? You keep mentioning dollars, for God's sake. There is nothing we are going to be buying abroad. There is nothing we are bringing in from anywhere, but it's within. Everything is local, and you are mentioning dollars. It doesn't make sense. So, Barrister, please, you will talk about that. And exactly where, for instance, again, this issue of schools, where schools had to require parents to pay school fees in dollars. That was, you see, this is crazy. I don't want to even go into. I don't want to take the word from you. We'll be talking about that. And the food. I just mentioned the issue of food. How crazy foodstuffs are just, the prices of foodstuffs are just skyrocketing. On daily basis, we shall be talking. Please, we touch on that. And in the insecurity, oh my God, that one again is getting worse again. Another issue. To the extent that Abuja now is even another hotspot. Can you imagine that is the seat of power? Yeah? Where the seat of power is situated is now a flashpoint for people. Terrorists literally go into people's homes to take people out inside the city, for God's sake. I think these are the things I need you actually to talk about as you review and give assessment of the Bola Tinubu crazy government.
Thank you once again, Jibrin.
Thank you, sir.
It's about 8 to 9 months that this present administration took office, in general terms, there is nothing really positive to say about the 8 or 9 months so far, but there's a lot of negatives as far as the average Nigerian is concerned. I once, in one of our shows, I told you that the problem with the leadership in Nigeria is that people come to power without sitting down before and articulating a policy that they will come and implement. You hear during the campaign, you hear them say, hit the ground running. But you only hit the ground running if you have done your homework in terms of policy, articulation of that policy, and practicalization of that policy. That's the only time you can hit the ground running. Now, when you do not do that, you become a reactionary. You now begin to react to situations as they emerge. This is the scenario we have seen in Nigeria. You can see that because they did not have a well thought out plan, policy, and how to go about it, the challenges they met, they are now reacting to it. Now, you talk about the petrol prices, the regulation, the first reduction of or removal of petroleum subsidy. One would have expected, because this is a recurrent issue over the years, over decades, one would have expected a serious presidential candidate to have constituted a team that would have studied the situation thoroughly, profiled solutions, and put an implementation timetable and framework so that as you take power, you hit the ground running, as they used to say. But you find nothing like that. You now take power and say there's no subsidy. But then what? The prices skyrocketed. You have no answer to that. So massive suffering has been inflicted on the people. A removal of subsidy regime on a product that has widespread effect all over the country on every citizen should not be taken lightly. Before you do that, you must articulate a whole lot of measures to cushion the effect of the removal of the subsidy. But we see that there's nothing. You now see the massive effect that is happening in terms of price escalation. You now come up with paying household 15,000. What is that? That is absolute nonsense. How many households are you going to pay? And what is 15,000? You say the poorest people. What of the other people that are not the poorest? What of the middle class that in ordinary economy drive the economy? They are hot. And if they are hot, even the poor will be hot more because they are the bridge between there's a bridge between the poor and the middle class and between the middle class and the rich. So you don't have any what let me I hate the word palliative, but let me use it because that's what they are using. You don't have any palliative for the middle class, even the one who are just swimming slightly above the waters. You cannot call that those ones the poorest of the poor, whom you claim you now want to have palliatives of 15,000 monthly for 6 months or for 3 months, not even continuously. You have a time limit. In the context of the price increase in Nigeria, that does not make sense. In any case, I have never supported a system where you go out to distribute money to people. That doesn't make sense. Engage people, even if they have to sweep the road and keep the road clean. Let them do that as a way of earning something. Even if you are giving them the 15,000, let them be engaged in some productive venture. It is more honorable. It is better for somebody to say, I woke up, I went to do this thing, and I was paid. At the end of the month, I'm getting this, even if it is small. instead of saying we are dashing people money because they are poor. That does not make sense. It does not help the economy in any way. There are a lot of things that these poor people can do. They can keep our gutters clean. They can help the environment. They can help the schools. There are a lot of things. It is not a good thing to have a policy that you just go out and distribute cash. So personally, I have not seen anything positive to talk about the government in the 8 months. All I have seen is appointments of personnel into government. What I wanted to see was your policy direction on the economy, there's several aspects of the economy, a detailed study of it, present it, let it be critiqued, and then improved upon, and then the implementation platform. That is what will bring some measure of relief. But now you have to react. Prices rise, you react. We want to do protest, you want to react. You are only reacting. You just came into government just to rest or to palliate your ego. Nothing more. You didn't have anything to offer. I'm not seeing anything that they have to offer because they have not presented anything to offer to Nigerians.
Yeah.
Now,
Okay. Go ahead.
uh, coming to the dollar, and again, let me sound a note of warning that and it is not good to take an isolated issue like the inflation, like food insecurity and prices and insecurity. All these things come together within the framework of failure of government. So it is like the body, any part of the body that is injured, the rest of the body will feel it. So all these things exist in the same framework of failure of government. So if there is that failure, it's going to affect the security, it's going to affect inflation, it's going to affect your naira. The whole economy is almost upside down. So they are running from pillar to post. You look at the food situation. You go to market today, a bag of rice, local rice, is selling between 65 to 70,000. Nigeria made rice.
Wow.
65 to 70,000 naira. And what is the average income of a medium income family? It's not up to that. Just one bag of rice.
Wow.
Now, how do you want these people to go on? It does not make sense. A bag of cassava pellets is about 31,000. A bag of guinea corn is about 100,000.
Wow.
These are staple foods that Nigeria use. They are all above the buying capacity of the average Nigerian. So people are being pushed to the wall. You can hear our protests now from one city to the other against the cost of living, against the hardship. Now that translates to your currency becoming so weak that nobody wants to hold it anymore. So you now come to the fact that people have or want to have the dollar because of the stability of the dollar in terms of the fact that it's not coming down, but it's always increasing. Whereas your own local currency, the value continues to depreciate. So if I have the chance to hold any of the two, certainly I will hold the dollar. It makes sense. And there's no question of nationalism there. It's a question of I either do this or die. People are suffering. If you have a family and they say because of nationalism, because you love Nigeria, hold the naira where the value will continue to go down. It doesn't make sense to me. That is where you see uh, institutions, schools, hotels beginning to charge Nigerians in dollars. School fees in dollars. Hotel occupancy is charged in dollars because the value of the local currency is going down and down and down, whereas the value of the dollar is going up and up and up. So nobody should really criticize the people who are doing this. The problem is not with them. The problem is with the system that allows the local currency to continuously dive down. That is where the issue is.
Honestly, I still fault them because everything is done. The truth is, honestly, I still fault people who do that. Now, there are situations where, okay, you base some things in dollars for certain reasons, but not in things that you can, things that are locally sourced for. Everything is local. The business is local. The raw material, what if it's, you are using any raw material, anything or whatever, the services are local. So why do you have to? I don't see anything. The truth, the one thing with Nigerians, we Nigerians, is that we like to exploit situations to our own detriment. We may be individually, we may be benefiting at that point, by that moment, but overall, the overall effect, negative, the overall effect of that particular attitude will eventually impact us in the long run negatively. There is not, I don't see, we are so used to this. We exploit bad situations that we sometimes we don't even realize that we are shooting ourselves in the foot. So honestly, you and I don't agree with you on that. There are things, you see, this is the problem we are facing in Nigeria. You and I have talked about this before. That 95% of Nigerians are corrupt. Whatever you're doing, that people who intend or decide to play along the corruption line, they don't have a choice. They just have to do it to survive. Whatever. Look, and that if we continue in this mentality, Nigeria will remain where we will not. What are we talking? What am I even talking about? Not remain. We'll continue to go down the steep. That's just the truth. I don't believe in that. There are things you cannot just be mentioning dollar in Nigeria as if you are in the US. It's crazy. It is crazy. That's just the truth. The moment we keep using foreign currency inside Nigeria, it will keep hammering. The naira will look. Will be, God forbid, that will end up being like Zimbabwe, where you have to carry their local currency in a wheelbarrow to buy bread, a loaf of bread. That is how bad it is in Zimbabwe. And now Nigeria is actually sliding towards that direction. In that direction, that's not the truth. This is my fear. So let's not justify. Let's not use wrong to justify wrong. That something is going wrong. We shouldn't go toe in line with the wrong just because we have to. Yeah, I understand we have to survive. Necessity, they say, is a mod. Sorry, necessity, not even more. That's the quote is a very wrong quote for this. The truth is that it is. I understand that necessity sometimes actually pushes us to do the unthinkable, but at the same time, we shouldn't encourage this. We shouldn't. Honestly, it's not encouraging. Let me be frank with you. Like I said, I was so infuriated that I had to call off. I was compelled. I was so angry that I had to call off. I said, this is nonsense. I had to suspend everything about the whole thing. Why would you be mentioning dollar? Everything is local there. You're mentioning dollar. This is not it. We are not doing the right thing. If government is failing, why should we help the government to fail even further? Yeah, but the problem is on the top. There's no doubt about that. The high and mighty, they are the ones actually, they love it. They are the ones. This issue of naira depreciation, it is not organic. It is designed to. The powers that be, these people in government and people out of government who are connected to government in one way or the other, they are the ones holding these dollars because they are the ones making naira to depreciate because they make a whole lot of money out of it. So that is the point. Now,
let me add, let me clarify something. I am not justifying it. I'm just talking about the reality. A hungry man's first thought is to get food to eat, not to fast. The first thought that comes to a hungry man is not that let me fast because I'm hungry. The first thought is let me look for food to eat. If the government did not create the situation that we have now, where you have domiciliary account, where you have the dollar operating side by side with the local currency, the people will not have the choice of measuring their currency against the other one and preferring the one that is more stable. Nobody should call Nigerians out on nationalism because of this situation. It's just a question of reality that if a person is faced with two choices, one of which is better than the other, he will choose the better choice. The task of the government is not to create that situation. Why are we having domiciliary accounts in Nigeria? We are not supposed to. Why are we allowing the dollar to operate in Nigeria side by side with our local currency? These are the issues that if, coming back to what I said, if a government or somebody looking for power has sat down and checked and articulated its economic policy, he will say, look, we are going to abolish domiciliary account and the use of foreign currency in our country. Whatever you want to do as an economic policy, let it be in our currency as long as you are within our borders. That would be an economic policy. This is something they would articulate, tell the electorate, but you know that because of the elites in Nigeria that hold on to this, one, as a measure of showing that I pass my neighbor, I pass you, and secondly, as a measure of uh, uh, how do I put it? As a measure of feeding their excesses. We should not have this situation. But as even without the domiciliary account, if somebody should send money from abroad, it should be paid to the person in local currency. That will strengthen the currency. But we collect dollar here. We collect pound sterling in Nigeria. We collect euro in Nigeria. Why are we allowing this nonsense to? Now, in the current scheme of things, there was a suggestion that was made that, oh, in fact, the CBN said that there are about domiciliary accounts in Nigeria are holding about $30 billion.
what?
So there was a suggestion that they should be converted to Naira. And the dollars are used to stabilize the Naira. And there was a total uproar from the elites. And that issue has never been mentioned again. They now went back because the ones that receive, many of the people that receive international money transfer in Western Union and others are not really the rich people.
Yes,
Most of them are families of who have somebody abroad that wants to help and send them dollars. Most of the monies are not even large amounts of dollars.
Yeah.
Sometimes 1,000, 2,000, even 5,000. But the people who hold the domiciliary account are the rich people who have millions, hundreds of thousands in dollars in their domiciliary account in Nigeria. So they will not allow that to be touched. But they have pushed the CBN now to block the average Nigerian from collecting the dollars that are sent by international money transfer. But they don't want anything to touch them through their domiciliary account. If we have to do the right thing, we have to stop the use of domiciliary account in Nigeria. We have to stop payment and use of foreign currency of any denomination within our borders. That will strengthen the dollar automatically to a certain level. although the strength of the dollar is not, dependent on that alone. It is a measure of
Yeah,
the economic
exports. Yeah,
stability,
export. Yeah,
because we are not producing anything
anything. Yeah,
apart from the oil. And some of this oil, since the government came in, I don't think there are any revenue from the crude, because the former government sold the crude upfront, collected dollars on it upfront for a period of 6 months.
yeah.
And some of
That's what Dangote does not have the one to get. So they don't have the one
exactly.
to give to
So
Dangote to
that's why
refine.
NNPC don't have much crude to give to Dangote, because it has already been mortgaged, sold, and the money collected. They are just to produce and send to the people that they collected. And the remaining one was tied to some contracts. Again, part
Oh
of
my
it, the
God.
remaining one was tied to some contracts that were awarded
Hi, these
and
people are
are being
killing
paid in
Nigeria.
crude.
Hi, shit.
So
These people are killing Nigeria, honestly.
all these things have put a tremendous pressure on the naira, and has made it impossible for the naira to stand on its two legs. That is why it's moving from day to day. It cannot stand in one place, it has to move from day to day. So, and that has brought unprecedented suffering and hardship on the average Nigerian.
Honestly, this is cruelty at the highest level. This is the height of cruelty and wickedness. Honestly, because this issue of I think I read about this about some few weeks ago, and I cringed. It made me cringe, honestly. Um, this is crazy. We have even sold our resources in advance, correct, mortgage our resources. How do we anyway? I don't get it. I can understand now. This is the reason why the budget was what it was. I remember when this budget came out, then I called it budget of thieves and rogues. And uh, this is a proof, a confirmation to that it was actually a budget of thieves and rogues, because there is nothing in the budget does not there was no pointer in the budget pointer to success or prosperity in the country. No, it was a pointer of doom. And this is the doom. This is part of it. This is just the beginning of the doom, because this is just we're just in January, February, and that is just the truth. It's unfortunate that we are. Obviously, Nigeria will never get better under Tinubu. Look, just look. How would a country do better or become better when its original and major resources have been mortgaged? It doesn't make sense. This is crazy, honestly. It is crazy. I don't know why Nigerians were so we are just too patient for. I understand we talked about this issue of patience, why people don't want to, but we'll continue this way. Honestly, things will get God forbid we get to a point where like it happened in the Bible, where families had to slaughter their own children to be able to survive. Yeah. Because if we going this path is actually this path will lead us to no prosperity at all. This path will lead Nigeria to a failed state. Honestly, completely failed state. It is wicked. Honestly, our government, Nigerian government, both past and present, this present one is the height of it, because just like you noted earlier, they didn't plan for this. Even though they've been planning, Bola Tinubu has been planning forever, for a for decades, on how to become president. Of course, this is a proof that he had nothing to offer. He wasn't prepared for it. All he was prepared for was just to take power and just exercise authority in a very, very insensitive way. That is just it. Take power and share wealth of the country. become even richer. And him and his cronies, that's just the truth. It's so unfortunate, honestly. Look at foodstuffs. Uh, the thing is hitting everyone. Everybody is feeling this heat. Both the rich and the poor. The rich ones that are not in government, the rich ones that are not in government that labor, work hard for their income to make money. They still suffer for it. The ones in government, because they don't work hard, it is not their money. They just dip into the treasury. This money just comes, so they don't care. Because you spend money reckless, you become reckless in expenditures or in spending when you don't really work hard for your money. That's just the truth. So it's affecting both the rich that are not that does not have any link with the government or with the establishment, who are hardworking Nigerians, legitimately making any incomes. So it affects everybody, but the poor, at least the rich ones, they can afford it, they can measure up. But the poor, it places us against the wall, that people are now sleeping and waking up in hunger. This is unbelievable. It is just I don't even know the right word to use for this. Wickedness is even beyond being wicked. This is evil. Huh? Honestly, look at the insecurity situation. When Tinubu first came in, he was sworn in. Insecurity situation, they kind of quelled in a way. Relatively, the insecurity became a little bit uh, um, 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 a little bit calm. But now, of course, I now understand. Of course, I understand that things like this, people who are perpetrating this evil want to assess the government with the way the government goes, how the government policy will go before they can. Obviously, they have seen that the government is business as usual. It's the government as usual. So after using 1 or 2 months to assess, let's see where this man is going, whether he will do the right thing or not. And they realize that, oh, this is business as usual. And off they go again. The kidnappers and bandits all over that they went back to their status quo. They have gone around now. They have even graduated to up to FCT, for God's sake. Now, because the FCT is affected now, the National Assembly now, because it affects them directly, they feel threatened now. They decided to intervene and summon whoever, this crazy minister that calls himself wicked. So this is just this is I don't know. Honestly, Nigeria is it's in shambles now. I think if I
Just
say
like
if, but
just like we said, the insecurity is part of the whole problem. You
yes,
cannot
of
pick out
course.
one problem and articulate it. It's
Yeah,
all part of the same thing.
yeah,
A lot of factors come together to perpetuate the insecurity, the economic downturn, the lack of will on the part of the government, the corruption in the security agencies. All these things come together. And these people look at it just like you pointed out. They look at it and say, oh, we can get away with this. We can do this. Because they have not seen the determination from the authorities
yes,
to tackle the issue. So, and then they look at it that it is the quickest source of getting money. In Nigeria, you kidnap somebody today, tomorrow you get 100 million, 50 million, and relatively unopposed. So how can, it is too attractive. It's too attractive. Even if 0.0001% of Nigerians indulge in it, it will overwhelm because you only need the person with a gun to
yeah,
control even 100 people. One person with an AK-47 standing on the road can do that and go away. So the government tries to make it difficult, tries to remove the incentive for these crimes through economic strategy. to improve the economy, to then through security architecture, to make it more difficult. But when these things are lacking, when the economic front is not improving, you are encouraging them. When the security architecture is not also improving, you encourage them. And the situation in Nigeria sometimes, even if you blame the military or the security agencies, they must bear some measure of blame. But at the same time, you must also give them some credit because they are overwhelmed. How many security agencies will cover a large country like Nigeria with the way things are happening? They are overwhelmed. What is their training? What is their remuneration, their earnings and allowances? When they die, what do their relatives, when they die in the line of service, what do their relatives get? So all these things come together to give either encouragement or discouragement to these people perpetrating this. So they watch when the new government comes. Let's give a little time and see how they will operate on the security front, how they will operate, allow things to go and make things easier for people to live their lives. When they don't see, they go back to
Of
business.
course, that is
This
just
is
it.
what is showing up, and then because again these people did not come with a clear-cut policy. They are running from pillar to post, inviting security head of securities to interrogate them has been going on for as long as I know. It cannot be the solution. You sit in the National Assembly, you invite the Chief of Army Staff, you invite the IG of Police, you invite the head of service, ask them, what are you doing on this insecurity? But they know why this insecurity is going on.
Yes, of course, that's the
They
point.
know they cannot be unaware. We are all in Nigeria. We know what is facilitating this the rise of insecurity. We know, everybody should know. And we also know who is perpetrating this kind of insecurity. In every area, people have a pretty good knowledge of what is happening in the area, whether it is in Zamfara, whether it is in Katsina, whether it is in Kaduna, or Plateau, or Benue, or Southwest. People have a pretty good idea of who is perpetrating these crimes in those
Yeah,
places.
they know, of course.
And a lot of people also know their hideouts. But for instance, now, if there is a particular forest where kidnappers are operating, and the military or security agencies happen to access that place, disband their camp, it will not end there. If they are not able to sanitize that camp on a continuous basis, after
Basis.
they go,
They'll
within a
go
week
back.
or two,
They'll
those
go
people
back.
come back to
Yes.
reestablish the camp. But the security agencies do not have the manpower or the resources to
To sustain.
continuously
Yeah.
on a sustained basis monitor those places. So you see the problem. You go and fight them, they run away, or you kill a few of them, then you go back to your barracks. Then after a week, they come back and establish. What does it take to establish a camp in the forest? Nothing. They don't build houses.
Yeah.
The kidnappers, they take sleep on the ground. So all they do is to come back and stay there. So you see the difficulty. There must be a coordinated approach. As you are attacking this hideout, you are also attacking the next one, the next one. It has to come together. You will not hear that people are being kidnapped in Beningwari. Then you go there, rescue them or kill the kidnappers and go away. Because there are other camps all over that place. As long as you do not tackle this problem holistically, the problem can only increase.
Thank you so much, Barrister. Maybe I think we have to move to the global topic right now. Nigeria's situation is honestly, it makes me weep. I don't know. When it comes to Nigeria's situation, I get emotional about it. because I for whatever reason I just have phobia for bad governance. Honestly, um, it's unfortunate that a great country like Nigeria with a huge mineral resources, both solid and liquid mineral resources, for God's sake. Um, mineral resources that we have mineral resources that compete globally with other countries. Um, mineral resources that can actually, if well utilized, can actually both liquid and solid minerals that can actually put us on a competing par with the global economy, the world's global world economic superpowers. Honestly,
You
unfortunately,
are, you are, you are talking of mineral resources. Nigeria has everything, intellectual capital,
yeah,
cheap
everything.
labor,
Honestly,
whatever is there to make a country great, Nigeria has it. Nigerians that are abroad have distinguished themselves in
themselves.
every field of endeavor. So it is not the Nigerian person that is the issue. It's a system. It's a system of coordinating this energy that is wrong. We have everything. Is it doctors? Is it scientists? Is it engineers? We have all Nigerians distinguishing themselves throughout the world and recognized. So why is it not happening in Nigeria? It can only be the system, nothing more than that.
So sad. Unfortunately, we're just we're handicapped now. We're helpless. We're powerless. Um, unfortunately, it has to do with the anyway. This powerlessness is not just it's not Nigeria alone. That leads us to the next topic, which is global politics as well. Now, this issue of the high and mighty, the establishment, political establishments in other countries, especially in the US. Um, it's just like what is happening in Nigeria. The only thing is that the system here is so good that no matter you don't feel the impact of what is done up there, the wrongs that are done up there, because the system has been so the system is so entrenched in um in decorum and orderliness in so much that it will take a very long time, though. They are actually getting there, because if it continues this way, eventually it will what is hitting African countries now will begin to hit the Western world, whether Western countries as well. So let's go to I don't know, you didn't, obviously it will be difficult for most people to watch me someone if an interview is interesting and the interviewee, and the interviewer and the interviewee are charismatic, I can watch such interview for several hours. I don't mind. I don't mind. Most times, I watch this interview when I am driving a long distance. Like they will say, the interview I watched it when I was driving from one state to another state, and so I just put it on and watch it on while I drive. I don't that long distance. So before I get to my destination, I've watched substantial amount, level of it. Then when I'm coming back, I do the same. So that's the way I watch my interview, not sitting at home, because I'm a little bit busy somehow. So I don't have that actually stretched 2 hours during Monday to Fridays to actually sit down and watch such interview. So that is just it. But I was able to watch all, and there were so many things. Most of the things are not new that the president of Russia, Vladimir Putin, um, said, and what you watched a little of it based on the little part you watched. What do you what can you review that? Give us a review of what you heard there on that clip.
Well, before that, let me say that I've been reading the comments from the US, the hostility to Tucker Carlson that carried out the interview. I can even hear Hillary Clinton refer to him as a useful idiot. And the National Security Advisor, when he was asked about the interview, he said, well, that is Putin. Whatever comes out of his mouth is propaganda, and people should take it with a pinch of salt. So I was just like, what? This is funny. Because if there's any system of propaganda,
US
they
is
call Putin, they call Putin a dictator. So they don't want the American people to listen to him.
yes.
But if there's any system information dictatorship, it is from the US.
Yes, that's the point. That's my point. That is why. That is the reason why I. That is because my target is actually the US. That's why I'm bringing up that is why I'm bringing up this topic, that interview for a discussion, because my target is actually the US, and that is just. Please go ahead. Sorry for cutting you short.
It is ironic that they that have the highest form of information dictatorship will now refer to another
Yeah,
person as
that's the point.
whatever the other person says as propaganda. It is very ironic because the way the information system is configured in the US is so dictatorial.
Yes, correct.
They do not want you to know any other thing apart
Correct.
from
Apart from that.
their viewpoint that they
Yeah.
are propagating. So when Dr. Carson set out to conduct this interview, he had insults from every establishment person. There is there are even some people that called that he should not be allowed back into the US.
Not even US. They asked him to. They asked the United, sorry, EU, European countries to ban him, to sanction
the,
him,
the EU are trying to consider imposing sanctions
sanction
on him,
on him.
including travel ban. So you can see from
They are just
we,
they are rattled because the truth has been, Vladimir Putin has actually touched on the truth about them. Go ahead, please. Sorry for cutting short.
on the one hand, you project America as a beacon of freedom and
Yes,
the
that
liberty
that's
to
that
express your
is
view, express
absolute
your
lies.
view and your thoughts, and at the same time, you don't want the other person to be heard.
Honestly, yes, that's the
It
point.
makes absolute nonsense. They have demonized Putin. They have called him
Honestly,
every manner of adjective
yeah,
to try to demonize him. But the truth is that the American taxpayer is contributing billions in a war that is involving Putin. Why is it not necessary for the Americans to know the truth or to hear only from one side? So this man set out to interview Putin, and Putin put up his own case. He reviewed what led to the war. In fact, he took over 30 minutes to review
yeah,
Russia's history right from the year 700, including historical issues, facts relating to Ukraine, and other things. And even before this, most of these things are within the realm of public knowledge. It's just that the American information system wants to suppress them so that the average American will not know the
yeah,
situation in, between Russia and Ukraine. You go back to 1962, the Cuban Missile Crisis. America could not tolerate a foreign power, an opponent, having a base in Cuba that is just an hour away from Florida, from the US. And they were ready to go to war with Russia, with the Soviet Union then. It was an issue that could have precipitated the Third World War back in 1962. Why is it wrong for Russia to also have a similar view that, look, a foreign hostile power do not come and install itself on our borders? If America could not want that, why would they want Russia
Oh, that is the point.
to buy into it? And let me point out, just like Putin said, historically, Ukraine is part of Russia.
Yeah,
And if you look at some of the regions in Ukraine, most of them are dominated by Russian-speaking people.
yeah,
The Crimea, for instance, has 72% Russian speakers. Donetsk Oblast has 74.9%. The Rushan Oblast has 68.8%. Zaporizhia, 48%. Odessa, 41%. Kharkiv, 44%. Mykolaiv, 29%. Almost all those oblasts in Ukraine have large, in some cases, majority speaking Russian people. Still, when Boris Yeltsin allowed Ukrainian independence, it was under the belief that Ukraine would still be a friend of Russia, or at least a neighbor that will not threaten the security of Russia. In the breakup of the USSR, there was agreement then that NATO will not expand an inch
yeah,
eastward. So they felt confident that even with the breakup, it will not. What happened? All the former Soviet republics were being pulled into NATO. All this Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, all NATO expanded, trying to encircle the Russian Federation. Why would America think that Russia would not feel threatened from a hostile uh, military alliance encircling the Russian Federation? Now, they now set out to get Ukraine, which, as we have said, historically, parts of it are Russian, to also, which is the last link to completely encircle Russia.
yeah,
They set out to bring Ukraine into NATO. Why would Russia not feel threatened? Which country would not feel threatened? Still, there was no issue. When in 1914, because of the actions of the Ukrainian government in banning the Russian language, in trying to erase Russian culture and influence in Ukraine, despite this huge population of Russians, which I told you in most of these their places, they are a majority. How will you do that? That is what precipitated the crisis with some of these Russian-speaking people taking up arms. Of course, Russia supported them, leading to the Minsk agreement. That Minsk agreement, Putin did not intend to invade Ukraine. All what they wanted
yes,
was to grant a measure of self-governance to some of these oblasts that had majority or significant populations of Russian-speaking people, and not to erase the Russian culture. They signed the agreement. It turned out that the West, who were also parties to the agreement, Germany, US, and this thing, encouraged Ukraine to sign it as a way of buying time to build up its army. The German foreign minister has confessed to that. Other Western people confessed to that, that they actually encourage and sign the agreement to buy time for Ukraine so that they can build up the Ukrainian army to face the Russians. So you can see that the entire issue is not about Ukraine. It's about facing and destroying Russia.
yeah,
And when Putin in that interview said that the actual aim of the West is to polarize Russia, turn it into smaller states, and prime them in its coming fight or war with China, you could see that there's a good point. that he was making. They want to dismantle Russia, turn it into smaller states, and intrigue among these states because their main fear, their main threat is from China,
China.
not Russia. Even Putin said it in the interview
Yeah.
that the West fears China more than Russia. So you see that this fight was provoked from the West. So when Russia says that they were provoked or the war was brought to them, one can understand that. It may not be that Ukraine started firing to Russia, but when you have gone to that,
Breached agreements.
when you have gone to that level, you have provoked a conflict. And somebody does not need to wait until the bullets start
Flying.
firing. I remember in 1967 when the Arab forces gathered, were gathering in secret to try to attack Israel. Israel
Israel.
preempted them and dealt a blow.
In 5 days.
At that point, no bullet had been fired into Israel
Yeah,
from
of
that.
course.
So if you are taking it literally, you say it is Israel that attacked them. But everything had been put in place. And I always remember the story of Shakespeare in Antony and Cleopatra when Caesar was in Rome, and another strong man of Rome, Antony, went to Egypt to stay with his lover Cleopatra, and the wars were doing back home. Uh, Caesar was accusing Antony that, look, we are having challenges at home. You are cavorting with women in Egypt. So Antony asked him that, Caesar, by being in Egypt, what is it to you? And Caesar replied that no more than my residing here in Rome might be to you in Egypt. But if you in Egypt intrigue on my state in Rome, then your being in Egypt will be my concern. So if you come to your my neighboring country and start intriguing against me, your being in that neighboring country becomes a threat to me. And I am entitled to respond and cut the problem before it becomes too much.
Yeah, of course.
This is what exactly happened between Russia
Ukraine.
and even at that, when the war started, Ukraine and Russia held meetings, discussed settlement, and agreed in Turkey. As Putin said, this is a fact that is known. Some people are trying to deny it, but even without Putin saying, some Western diplomats, some Ukrainian high officials admitted that there was an agreement on the ground. It was Boris Yeltsin. It was Biden that sent Boris Yeltsin to Ukraine to tell them not to agree to that settlement, that it was better to fight Russia. Now, it fit into the plan of the West and NATO to dismantle Russia or bring it down so that they can use part of Russia at the relevant time to confront China. And the Russians know of it. All they are doing is they are protecting their country, they are protecting their fatherland and everything. So for them, the war is existential.
Yeah.
If they don't do it now, they will fight a bigger war. They may be forced to use nuclear weapons later. The fight now does not require nuclear weapons. But if they leave it till later, it may require nuclear weapons that will in turn turn into a third world war. So that is the viewpoint that Putin was trying to put across. And that's some of the things that the Western propaganda or information system does not want the average American to know.
No, it is, no. Now, you see, the propaganda we are talking about, that US is the one pushing, the major propaganda or propagandist is the US. And that what they are pushing is not just to limit it to the US. No. US, what is it? The thing is, what I got from this interview yesterday is that and it was just a proof of what I have always thought about. I never had it from any reliable source that like Putin. So that US actually is in charge of substantial, significant number, I think the word he used, most global medias all over the world. That's medias all over the world. They are instrumental. They sponsor medias all over the West sponsors media all over the world, especially this liberal West. That is why if you study the media all over the world, you notice that it's overwhelmingly, media organizations are overwhelmingly skewed towards liberalism. They are overwhelmingly skewed towards the US Democrat policies. They are overwhelmingly skewed towards all the crazy new ideas that are just coming up, the unbelievable new ideas that have to do that borders morality or immorality, and other crazy ideas that are just off the charts, like this issue of climate change. All those things are rules. They are fraud. So that is why, you see, when he mentioned that, I just said, okay, yeah, this is confirmed, because even in Nigeria, you see, everybody, the Nigerian media toes along the Western medias. The toes in line, their toe is in line with the Western media. The same, you listen to the analysts or whatever, it's all this US Democrats, leftist agenda they are just pushing. And the same thing is happening. They demonize this. You see, the problem with this, honestly, when I watch this interview, you see this Putin of a man, that guy is charismatic. And I just love that man. I love him not for personal reason, but for objectivity reason. Now, this is a man that his country, I think, I don't know if you are aware of that. Of course, you know. His country, majority of his country people, they love him, even though the West, their propaganda is that he's not loved by his country. He has more opposition than the supporters. No. Even this war going on in Ukraine, his majority of the citizens of Russia are supporting it. The economy of this man is doing well for his country. He may have other corruption, but the truth is, the corruption, whatever he's doing, it doesn't matter as long as it doesn't affect what he's doing. It doesn't affect his country. The economy of his country prior to this war, was doing relatively well. Russia is not an impoverished. It's not a country that one can say, okay, they are doing poorly. No, Russia is an economy that is a competing economy with its other economic superpowers. I think there was a time they ranked. I think they are in the entire Europe. I think Russia is the #1 economy. So what are we talking about? Russia is the #1 economy in the entire Europe or whatever. So yet the West is demonizing this man. He's doing well for his people. His people love him. Majority of his people love him. The West keep sponsoring opposition to pull this man down. Now their problem is this man is not democratic. He kills any opposition coming up or whatever. He either incarcerates them or he kills them. And I say, look, this is the game of power. This is the game of power. Even in the US, they have their own way to silence opposition. So I'm Putin. Look, what do you expect? The entire global superpower are all against him. The entire West, the entire West, not the entire global superpower. Yes, of course, if I say superpower, of course, the entire superpower, apart from China, are against him. Britain, Germany, Russia, France, US. These are superpowers, for God's sake. They are all against this man. They do not only want to oust him from power, they want to even eliminate him. In fact, Lindsey Graham, a US Senate came out publicly on air, not once, not twice, was threatening, asking US that they should eliminate him. He should be assassinated. That is a US senator. So you can imagine, what do you expect this man to do? You feel threatened, just like what we said, what the action is taken against Ukraine. He felt threatened. So if a leader feels threatened, what do you expect? And the moment he suspects anyone that is either a tool from the enemy, of course, what do you expect? He will either eliminate or incarcerate. I'm not justifying killing anyone, whatever, but that is the game of power, unfortunately. If you are involved in power play, that is what happens with power. That is just, he has to protect himself. Otherwise, he's been there for 20-something years now, because even against, do you know what it means for the world superpower to be against you? They did it again. They did it with Libya, the Muammar Gaddafi. They did it with Saddam Hussein. The moment you are their focus, they will get you down. But Putin, because he has decided, he chose to do the needful. He is outsmarting them by actually quelling every form of opposition, every form of threats, directly or indirectly, around him in his country. The moment he sees you as a threat, as someone, as a tool that the West can use against him, the next thing, he either find a way to incarcerate you or silence you. That is the whatever. What do you expect? That he has to protect himself, he has to protect his country, because everywhere, everything, and all the countries that US touched, they try to manipulate, they try to influence their leadership. It's been anything they touch, any country US touches, it turns to rubble. Look at Libya, for God's sake. Muammar Gaddafi was doing well. His people loved him. He was doing well. For God's sake, Libya was a kind of a paradise on earth. People, the man was taking care of his people. People were Libya, but today look at Libya. Libya is the headquarter, an informal headquarter. That's my own word, though, my opinion. The headquarter of anything you call evil right now. Human trafficking, sex trafficking, anything and every terrorism, all the bad things. Look at Iraq. The same thing. They demonized Libya. Muammar Gaddafi demonized Saddam Hussein. Saddam Hussein, before Saddam Hussein was captured, Iraq was doing well. The man was taking care of his people. The economy of the country was relatively doing well. Everything was good. Not perfect, but they were much, much, much better than they are today. That is the problem. So the thing is that, sorry, before let me land. So the truth is, US is the evil, is the global evil. The West, the West and US as the head is actually the real evil here. Not Russia, not Vladimir Putin, for God's sake. That man is, I don't know if you got to the area where he actually told Bill Clinton, I think 1993 or thereabout or so. He said, when they met with Bill Clinton, he asked Bill Clinton, can we join NATO? You watch that. You can imagine. So Bill Clinton gave him a kind of an insinuation that yes, it is possible. Because he said, okay, he actually told us what the response was. He said he asked Bill Clinton, can we join NATO? Bill Clinton, he said, and he said, I think it's possible. Now, Bill Clinton went back after meeting with his the establishment, the bureaucrats, and those are the people that are ruling those are the people that are ruling the US, unfortunately. After meeting bureaucrats, they were able to, he came back the next day and changed and told, Putin he said, no, categorically, no, you cannot join. Now, tell me, why do you hate this country? that much. This is the problem. So Russia is not the enemy that people, it's not the villain. Putin is not the villain that the West projects or are carrying through propaganda that he is. No, he's not the evil person. It is the West that are the evil. This man tried, he made an attempt to even join them. He made attempts. At least I watched this interview. This man was so, honestly, he made attempts for them to have cohesion, unity in global policies, in warfare policies and other stuff, whatever. But the West rebuffed him. They denied him that. They declined. In some cases, they even agreed on some principles, warfare principles, and they reneged in that principles. Some of them are even written agreements. They reneged in those written agreements. So, and yet the West, honestly, we see this US. I've always mentioned in so many years that US, they are the worst, when you talk of hypocrisy, they are the epitome, the personification of hypocrisy. They talk of democracy, you want to protect democracy. Yet they are the ones killing. They have killed so many democracies. They are killing democracy. Even in the US, they are killing this, especially these liberals. Please go ahead.
You have to understand that, number one, the US spends about $1 trillion on defense every year. The real power in America, one of the real power blocks in America is the military-industrial complex in the US. They determine the US foreign policy. Therefore, the US must have an enemy. If the US does not have an enemy, what will happen to the military-industrial complex? What has happened to the $1 trillion defense budget? So you have to understand from that context, if Russia was not there, if China was not there, the US will still create an enemy of equal strength so that the military-industrial complex will continue to exist at the level it is. So it was not possible for them to allow Russia to join NATO. At that time, China was not even strong enough. So Russia was the ultimate enemy to project to the American people, we are facing danger from Russia. So we have to spend this amount of money. We have to build this aircraft. We have to build these ships. We have to have these soldiers all over the world for the security of America. So when you have reached and the military-industrial complex controls your foreign policy, you must have an enemy. Just like people say that if God did not exist, he will still be invented. So if America can only exist as today by having an enemy. So now the rise of China, you can see in the discussion on American destiny that China is coming up to be the greatest threat to America.
Yeah.
Not just on the military front. Russia militarily is the greatest threat, but the military is underpinned by the economy. So if you have a large military, a powerful military, and a powerful economy, it becomes a danger.
Now, hold
that
on.
Is what China...
No, hold on. I need a clarification. Now, is it that Russia is the greatest threat? Is it your opinion or that of the US policy?
No, as of today, before, during the Soviet Union,
yeah, okay,
the Soviet Union was the ultimate threat.
Yeah, okay.
The projection of the US foreign policy was the Soviet Union was the greatest threat. After the dissolution of the Soviet Union, they downgraded the Russian Federation to a second power. The US downgraded the Russian Federation that emerged to a second power, not a first world power. They did not feel that threatened. The rise of China now supplanted the Soviet Union. But then something happened. Putin came to power and set about to rebuild the military strength of the Russian Federation. That is where they had a problem. Putin set about to rebuild the military power of the Russian Federation, actually brought back the Russian Federation into the first power. But the US want to consign them to the second and, if possible, third world power, so that they can face China as an emerging power, both through its economy and through its military. But the Russians, they now see that what Putin has done in Russia is also a threat to US because of the rearmament of Russia. So that is why they continue to project Russia as a threat too. But even today, they regard China as a greater threat than Russia. But they feel there's a group in America that feel that we can suppress Russia militarily. We can intrigue and maybe break them up into smaller places, into smaller states. That way, we can at least have some peace from that side and face China. So this is what all this war is about, to suppress Russia so that they can concentrate on China. But it's always the same thing. Assuming China is not there, assuming Russia is not there, they will pick Iran.
Pick someone else.
They must pick one country to show to the American people that we are facing national security issues from social country. They will now demonize that country. They will demonize its leadership. They will demonize its people. And now drag the whole of Europe along with them. And the reason is that both the US and the West are living on the efforts of other people. The riches of the West and the US are because of the domination of the rest of the world through the economic order that is now in place. So if this economic order is threatened by anybody, like you see now, Gaddafi came and threatened the economic order, they will not allow you. They want Nigeria, for instance, to be an exporter of minerals. Dig up your oil, dig up whatever you have, gold, and sell. A country cannot develop like that because the value chain is not there. You sell your minerals to US, they turn it into 100 products and resell to you, making 100 times profit. That's the world economic order now. Anybody that rebels against that, they immediately turn their attention to that person. And they will try to finish you up. That's just the truth. And their riches, their wealth, and their power is dependent on the current world economic order. Now, the threat from Russia, the BRICS countries, to dollarize, remove themselves from the dollar, is another threat altogether.
Yeah.
If that were to completely happen to half of the world, the US is gone. The US is finished.
Yeah, but you say that's the trajectory we are on now. We're on this
trajectory.
Of course, now.
It's led by Russia. That is another angle that Russia must be suppressed. That is another angle. And you know that the highest debtor country in the world is the US.
Yeah.
The US is the most indebted country in the world. But they cannot pay their debt. They are not required to pay their debt because the world economy financial system is operated in the dollars. So they simply print it. But if Nigeria has a $1 billion debt, Nigeria must make that $1 billion to pay. The US does not have to make any. They just print. So all they do in the Congress is to raise the debt ceiling. If America is now having 10 trillion debt, and they say, okay, our budget can no longer, they will now come to Congress and say, raise the debt ceiling to 12 trillion or 13 trillion. So they continue to print and spend. So any attempt to threaten the dollar, to remove the financial system from the dollar, we collapse the American economy.
What are you talking about? You say any attempt. So it's already happening now. The dollar, look.
It's already happening.
Yeah, it's already happening now.
But because the dollar is so entrenched It's not something that can happen overnight. It can
No,
only
of course.
happen
But
gradually.
the process have started.
Uh-huh.
Yes, of course. They've
The
started doing
process
that.
has started,
Yes.
but America is fighting back, and the
They are
war
not.
in Ukraine
No, they are
is
not.
part
Hold
of
on,
it.
barrister. You see, the problem is America is not fighting back. You know why? Ask me why. Why I say they are not fighting back. They are not
Go
fighting
on.
back because when you are fighting back, your policies, your priorities should speak to that effect. Now, tell me how you fighting back when you have isolated you isolated Russia and sanctioned Russia to the extent that you have forced Russia now to face China as Sukkot, as a landing part where okay he has now right Russia and China now very this is unprecedented. Russia and China they have never been this close. Now US have finally pushed Russia into China. They were like this man said before the war, Ukraine war, Russia, their economy, their foreign dealings, their global sales was I think about 60 something percent dollars. Today, 13% in dollars. 30 something percent now in yuan. That is Chinese currency. What are you doing? So tell me, you are not fighting back. That's the crazy democratic setting we have now. Not democratic, Democrat setting. And that is the problem. That is why they are trying. We really need this Biden, this Democrat to be pushed out of power and bring in someone like Donald Trump. And so that is the point. Look,
They are fighting back. See,
hold on. Now hold on. Let me give you more reasons why they are not fighting back. I mentioned that of Russia. You cannot sanction Russia, that everything you block them in on every level not to be able to use dollar to trade. Now you have pushed them to begin to use yuan as against dollars. So that is one. Secondly, you are pushing the same thing is happening in the Middle East. Look at Saudi Arabia now. Your policy used to be friendly to Saudi Arabia. Now, this current government has pushed Saudi Arabia away from the US policy. Now you have compelled Saudi Arabia to go for seek alternative measures to circumvent their own their interest, the negative interest, the negativity that is against their interest. By going now focusing on facing China for Sukkot. China have bought into that. Of course, China was the one who even initiated that or whatever. Because, of course, China, they are very smart, sensitive, proactive. They see the moment they notice weakness, they exploit it. They exploit that weakness. That's exactly what they're doing. The moment they see an opportunity in any aspect, in the global front, they exploit it. So when they saw that the relationship between US and Saudi in this Joe Biden's government has been strained, they jumped in and enticed the Saudis with this beautiful arrangement of policy. And sort of Saudi is selling oil now to China in China's currency, yuan, as against the dollar that they used to trade in. So tell me, you are chasing your friends away from you, and even your enemies like Russia that were even when they see you as an enemy, they were using your currency to trade. You've now even pushed them away from your currency, thereby devising other alternative measures to circumvent the negative impact of the sanctions. How are they? They're not fighting back, Barrister. This is not fighting back.
Let me explain what I mean. They are fighting back. The problem is that there were two groups in the US of how to fight back. The ones that got the upper hand believe that Russia can be destroyed. The purpose of the whole economic sanctions and military action is to bring Russia to its knees. Unfortunately, the measures they took did not work. And the US believed that they could line up the rest of the world. There are countries that are close to the US, like Brazil, like Saudi Arabia, that it will be easy to line them up against Russia. Oh, that one to failed. It's not that they are fighting, they were fighting back, but the approach they used failed. They thought the Russian economy will collapse because of the sanctions. It became more resilient.
Yes, of
So
course.
that surprised them, that disappointed them, that surprised them. And they thought that a combination of about 30 NATO countries with the US and Britain supplying massive weapons, training, in fact, planning the war for Ukraine will bring Russia down. That one too has failed. They thought they could marshal their friends to line up against Russia. That too has failed. It's the failure of their approach, it's the failure of their fight. Not that they are not fighting, they are fighting, but all the measures they took to fight seem to have failed. Do you realize that the last offensive by Ukraine that failed was
Yes.
planned by British and American generals? With the whole war games was conducted by the British and American generals. And the reason, part of the reason why Zelensky has now removed the popular commander of the army, Zaluzzi, was that after a few days of using the plan by the US and the British generals, they saw that there was massive loss of equipment and the Ukrainian people. So he threw away the plan and started to go back to the way that the Ukrainians know how to fight. Ultimately, that offensive failed. And do you know that Zelensky has now removed him? The new person that is now the commander, do you know, is an ethnic Russian.
Yeah.
What is that? His name? Krisky. Krisky, that is now the commander of the Ukrainian army, is an ethnic Russian, but he has no interest in political leadership in the Ukraine. Zelensky felt that Zelensky has interest to become the leader of Ukraine, so he had to push him aside. So the measures that the US took, both on the economic front, on the political front, on the military front, to contain and destroy Russia, or at least bring them to a level that they cannot threaten them, are not working. They are now trying to go back to the drawing board because all the arms they have given, you go back to the beginning of the war, the American military experts give the Ukrainians Stinger missiles, the war will be over. They give them this thing, they gave them, it did not work. Give them ATACMS, they gave them, it did not work. Now they have reached the point of F-16 fighter jets. They say once you give the Ukrainians the F-16 fighter jets, the Ukrainians will win. But we know that from the trajectory of the things that are happening, it's not going to work.
Yes.
So they are now in a quandary. That is why you see even the movement developing the US now to talk about peace. At the beginning, nobody in the US, even within the military establishment, was talking about peace agreement between. They wanted the outright Ukrainian victory over Russia, believing in American arms, in American planning, and the positioning of their. They create all the targets, everything for Ukraine. If Ukraine is left alone, just like Putin said, stop supplying Ukraine weapons. In a few days, the thing will be over. There will be peace. We will come to the table. And it's true, if the West stops supplying Ukraine with weapons, within a week or two, that war will be over.
Yeah, of course.
It will now be settled at the table.
Yeah.
So they fought back against Russia, but they failed. All the measures they took have failed. They have failed.
All right. Yeah, I think you're right in that aspect. All right, I think that brings us to the end of this show. The bottom line is US, they are the worst hypocrites. That's the truth. Especially the liberal government. The liberal government in the US are the worst politics. What they accuse other people of doing is exactly what they do. That is the
They do
what.
what?
Yeah, yeah, that is just God bless you. They do worse. Not even exactly, they do worse. What they accuse you of doing is what they do worse. They do even do that
In
worse.
fact, the liberals in the US are the most
Honestly,
intolerant group.
that is it. You are right.
Once they take a view, anybody that is against that
And
view,
then
you
they will bring
become
that
an
person. Yeah,
enemy.
yes, they'll
Become
pull
an
you down.
automatic enemy.
That is it. That's whatever liberals. The moment they take a view, like everybody those the same parts. That's just it. It's so unfortunate. So unfortunate. They are this government. This Joe Biden's government is has. If if we allow Joe Biden or this liberal government, Democrat, to rule for another extra 4 years, US is gone. US can never recover again.
Well,
Can never recover again. That's just the
well,
truth.
fortunately, say you read the report of the prosecutor on
Yeah,
this
yeah,
mishandling of
yeah,
uh,
yes.
of documents, and the
Honestly,
conclusion that he made that he
yeah,
didn't believe that any jury, although he believed that Britain deliberately mishandled the. He didn't believe that any jury will convict him because of his old age and loss of memory.
memory. That
And
was a serious.
if it's broke, look at that kind of statement. How can the person who
Honestly,
cannot face, how can the person who
you
cannot
cannot
face
face
trial because
a
of
judge.
old
Then,
age and loss of memory be
yeah, president
be
of the
the
country.
president of the US?
Honestly, that was a serious blow or whatever. Though that's to tell you that even the Democrats are turning against it because they see Trump as threat, and Biden cannot actually beat him in the polls. So
No, I read an article by one highly respected US commentator. I cannot remember his name. He detailed a very detailed plan that will end with Joe Biden not contesting the election. That Michelle
Michelle,
Obama
Michelle,
is being propped up at the appropriate time.
she's resisting
She'll
it.
be she she'll
That
be
they are trying to prop her up, but she's resisting it. They are not. They don't. She don't want. She's not. She's resisting it. That's just the truth. She doesn't. She's not. She's not interested. Except probably the pressure becomes too much. That probably. But for now, that's the game. They are trying to do that, but she seems not to be interested in that. So barrister, anyway,
the
US,
fact that
maybe next week we'll be talking about US politics, definitely. Because we need to do, there are so many, US politics is very, very broad. We'll be talking about that perhaps next week by the grace of God.
I was struck by the I've never seen the White House press corps interview Biden like they did yesterday in respect
Yeah.
of this report.
Damage control now. They were
They
trying to do
fired
damage
questions.
control now.
They fired questions. No, it was not damage. They fired. This is the first time they fired serious questions at him. That he became very angry
Confused. Yeah, yeah. The became
and
angry.
confused.
Yeah, confused.
He
Yeah, okay.
have
I
never.
remember it.
He has never faced this kind of
Yeah, yeah.
questioning
Question, yeah. He
like
became
this.
angry. In fact, he even met. In fact, I know by now they must be regretting why he actually had that press conference because
And
he messed
somebody
up. He messed up. He was
uh,
angry, became impatient, became confused or whatever, and
totally confused. And
he lost control.
somebody is saying that this interview could not have happened without the people who hold power in the Democratic Party setting it
Yeah,
up
yeah. They said
as a
yeah,
way to
yeah. To
eventually get rid of
yes,
him.
to get him to get rid of him. That is it. Yeah, that is just it. Because they know Biden can't face Trump. Trump is a bulldozer. He's bulldozing everywhere now. All right, Barrister, thank you so much. Viewers, sorry, we have. In fact, this is. I hope this is. I think this will get up to 2 hours. Unfortunately, this is not our making. Thank you, viewers. If you have been with us up to this moment, thank you for being with us. I I urge you to subscribe to this channel. If you are interested in watching JIBRIN Angle, as I was saying earlier, I didn't complete that. JIBRIN Angle, this is what we do on JIBRIN Angle. We discuss current affairs, both global and local affairs. We discuss politics and everything, anything discussable that impacts situations, events that actually impact or affects human beings, especially the common man on the streets. These are the things that brings that we beam our attention on. And that is it. We also deal on gospel stuff. We beam our attention on gospel controversial topics on the gospel and Christian doctrines. Please join us, subscribe to this channel, Oweleke TV, and follow us on put on your notification bell, whenever we upload anything, any content, you get notified to watch. We are on all major social media platforms at Oweleke TV. Just go to Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, put in at Oweleke TV. You'll find us. And our website is www.oweleke.tv. So you get there, you see so many, you'll be able to know more about us. God bless you. Barrister Manta, thank you very much for your time again, as always. We appreciate this privilege and honor you have been so consistent in giving to us. We hope you'll be able to make it again next week.
Thank you.
God bless you. Bye.